The time is 5:30, and we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Newark City Council Finance Committee to order. Members present are Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Marmey, myself, Mr. Cost, and Mr. Bubb. We do have three pieces of legislation on our agenda. The first is to consider resolution number 1597, appropriating monies for the current expenses of the municipal corporation. And section 1 is dealing with the donation for the Newark Fire Department training. And it's $400, and I see our chief is out there in the hallway. Would he mind coming to the podium? Thank you, Chief. That's all right. Just cutting into my speedy time, that's all.
I apologize. We have $400 that was donated from Marathon during a training exercise. They wanted to donate $400 to the fire department to help us in training, and I'm asking for it to be transferred back to from the general fund back to our budget.
Thank you, Chief. Motion, Mr. Bubb. Second, Mrs. Floyd. Any questions or comments from the committee? Questions, comments from the audience? All those in favor of moving this on to full council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll see you in a minute. Section 2 of this resolution is dealing with $2,703.73 for our summer youth program, and Ms. Gilks is at the podium.
This request is to reimburse the time expended by Chuck and Jeff for our summer program.
Thank you, Ms. Gilks. Motion, Mr. Bubb. Second, Mr. Cost. Any questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments from the audience? Just again, thank you so much for putting on the summer youth program. All those in favor of moving this on to full council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Our next resolution is to consider resolution number 1598, appropriating monies for the current expenses of the municipal corporation. And section 1 is dealing with fire reimbursements, and this is for from the fire damage fund for $14,386.57. And Mr. Paul is at the podium.
Yeah, this is just we've exceeded our budget for our fire insurance fund. We've had more fires than we've normally had, so we budgeted $60,000 this year. We've got to have money in our budget to pay out once they do the fire cleanup. So,
questions, comments from the committee?
Motion,
Mr. Bubb.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Floyd. Any comments or questions from the audience? All those in favor of moving this on to full council, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Our the second section of this resolution is to deal with improvements in the cemetery and veterans section for $26,617.50. Director Rhodes is at the podium.
This is a donation from our veterans for our veterans section of the cemetery, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in our Parks and Recreation Committee. But it was a donation. We're just asking for it to be appropriated.
Thank you, Director Rhodes. Motion, Mr. Cost. Second, Mrs. Floyd. Any questions, comments from the committee? Questions, comments from the audience? All those in favor, moving on full council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. And our final piece of legislation tonight is to consider resolution number 1599, authorizing directing the auditor of the City of Newark to pay bills on behalf of Division of Police pursuant to section 5705.41D, then and now certification, and declaring an emergency. And yes, sir.
Count Ball.
Thank you very much. Your name slipped my mind, so thank you for coming tonight.
We're dealing with what would commonly be called an after-the-fact New World, our records management system. The city's been dealing with them for approximately a year to get us a new records management system. We're working on getting it into place. They sent us an invoice that was dated previous to the approved purchase order. Rather than ask them to change the purchase order, it was easier for me to come here tonight and explain to you how it was simply a matter of dates. This wasn't a new thing. This wasn't an unheard of thing or a surprise thing. We've been talking to New World for a long time, and they just sent us a quick invoice because it hasn't necessarily been quick. It's been since 2014 that we've been talking to them. So they sent us an invoice. We already had the money set aside. When the sergeant had the purchase order created, the date just happened to be after the invoice.
So, and that's the reason for the...
And that's the reason that this whole thing happened.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments from the committee?
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Floyd.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bubb. Any further comments or questions? Comments, questions from the audience? All those in favor, move this on to full council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. That concludes the business of Finance Committee. Up next is Parks and Recreation.
Call the Recreation Committee to order. We don't have any legislation for us tonight, but Mr. Rhodes and I have been talking quite a while about trying to give him an opportunity to come in and talk about the progress in our parks, which I think everybody agrees has been significant in the last couple of years. And so had a similar presentation a year or so ago, and so I'd like to give them the opportunity to talk about your progress. Mr. Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to say this is one of the fun parts of the job, is intertwining with the Parks and Recreation Department. In the Parks and Recreation Department, we have a lot of good community partners, and one of our things we wanted to do this year was improve upon a few of those relationships. And as we get into the presentation, we'll talk about our improved relationship with the Licking County Park District, and we have representatives from the Park District here tonight. We'll also talk about our improved relationship with the veterans and our cemetery, which we just did an appropriation with. But what we have here is some pictures and some events of things that we've done over the past year with our limited crew and our seasonal help. Seasonal help that Barbara Gilks has helped us get through the Job and Family Services. So Jeff, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is the first picture of Cedar Hill Cemetery. That's going to be our first subject here. That's the main sign. This area here is up near the old, right at the end of the old part, and it starts the new part. And we have a need now for cremation burials have gone from about 8% when I started to about 40%. So more people are looking at cremations as an alternative to the in-ground burial. And we sold out of our one last niche. So I created another area, which we're getting ready to set the new columbariums. We had an outside company do this because of the weight and the expertise we needed. This is one of the columbariums. Here we are lifting it up. And we're setting it. Some of those employees are from the crane company and some are my employees. What that is, there's 24 double units and 36 single units. We're one of the first cemeteries in the state to have double cremation units. The company I bought them off had never done it before. But more spouses would like to be buried together instead of having a wall in between them. So I tried to accommodate that by having a company design these with being dual. One side's all doubles, the other side's singles.
But that area there was dug out, we poured the concrete, and this was paid for by grant dollars. It's one thing that should be pointed out.
The back wall there, I haven't got the plaque yet, but we're going to call that the Veterans Wall of Honor. So any of the people, the spouses or the people buried there, they'll be able to mount their cremation plaque that they get from the military back on that wall. So they'll still be designated as a veteran. Even though I can't put it on their actual unit, we'll make a wall of honor back there for them.
Jeff, will there be a bench of any sort?
Yes, I just ordered 2 benches last week. They should be in next week. Let me get to the point where I can show you. Well, here's looking down. If you look on the right-hand side, the left-hand side, there'll be black. They're called pillow-type benches. They're more curved, and so your standard bench, so you actually sit on with the back on them. One will be on the one right-hand corner, they'll be on the left-hand corner. There's also room, if these sell out, to put a third unit in there so that we won't have this problem next time. Just be a matter of finding a color bearing and putting it in.
That is really cool.
Yeah, this is a better shot. You can see where they go. One will go on the left-hand side, one will go on the right-hand side. So we've already sold 2 units, and we haven't really advertised yet. So, but it's made a statement, and it's made a statement to the veterans, which will be another part of my presentation at the end, how well they like it too. That's a closer view. All right, now we have, this is out T.J. Evans at a dive park. We had a dive appreciation day out there. I don't know if I can tell you what the day it was. I think it was August 22nd. Well, it was June 20th. And what we did was we opened it up to any dive teams or EMS teams that want to come out and do water, dives and practicing the things they wanted to practice. We had 4 different dive teams. We had Franklin County. I can't read that one, but there's 4 different ones that were there that day doing training with their divers. They seem to appreciate it. I think this will grow each year as they start talking, and other dive teams want to come in for that day and do some practicing. Here's some more of them getting ready to go in. And they're actually in the water. They're also, in this particular pond, we have about 4,000, I can give you the fish, paddlefish that are in there, that in about 4 more years we should be harvesting the paddlefish. We got a company from Kentucky that put them in free, and when they're harvested we get paid so much per pound for the paddlefish. So that should bring some extra income, probably 4 to 6 years. They're already getting to be about 3 feet long. I think they get up to about 6 to 8 feet. And they don't eat, all they eat is the plankton. They just go through with their mouth open, and they just suck it. And so it's pretty interesting to see one of them. I don't have any pictures for it. I should have taken one. This is Hollinger Pool that we worked at this year. Oh, I want to make one more comment about the dive area. Back in August, we had, it's called Dive Training Magazine. They wanted to come up and visit because they wanted to write a big article, because we're in the top 4 dive areas in the state. So they sent a photographer and one of their writers up, and we had some local divers out there and everything, so they could interview them, talk to them about it, see the park. So there'll be an article this spring in their magazine featuring our dive area, and hopefully that'll spur some more interest in people coming out to dive there. Then back to Hollinger Pool, we did a couple improvements this year, thanks to Barbara. Barbara got us a grant to do some, we're going to do swing set in, and then we put in, this is the guys going through the process. That's what it looks like when we got done. We also have been putting in handicap accessible swings for kids, and each one of the swing sets, we have them in. Then we put in some of these other, for kids with special needs.
Jeff, can you go back to that slide?
I'll try. Yeah.
Is that an accessible surface? It looks like just gravel.
Oh, that's mulch.
That's mulch?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But it is?
Yeah.
Can you navigate a wheelchair on it to get the
It'd be a
child
little tough
over
to get
there?
in there, but yeah, I guess you could. Or you have to, it's not that far away, you'd have to carry them in, but I mean, we have it open so you can actually wheel in. I mean, it probably looks more loose there, but it's pretty packed after a few rains. I mean, I don't think you have a problem. We don't have a problem walking, and I think you could actually wheel somebody in without too much of a problem. I think the other one, the new one, you won't next year because of the compacting over the winter. We will usually top dress them and make sure we have enough mulch in, but after a couple of rains, they do settle down quite a bit.
Thank you.
And these are some of the special needs units we got put in where people on wheelchairs can wheel underneath them. Don't ask me what you're supposed to do with this one. I'm not sure. This one you play with the little beads there, little rollers there. And these are a couple others that some of the kids can get on and ride them. The one on the right spins, the other one gets like a teeter-totter. So, but that's all through grant money. Every spring on the courthouse, we usually have, let's see if I have it in, we do a cleanup. And Spring Hill Baptist Church the last couple of years has sent down anywhere from 40 to 60 kids. And they all split up. Some of them actually do all the mulch work on the courthouse square. We have another big group that goes out to bike path and all the tunnels and tries to paint all the graffiti over. And whatever other areas they find that we have painted graffiti, they go out and try to, well, they don't try, they actually complete the job of covering all the graffiti up for the summer. I didn't get a picture on doing this year. They were moving so fast I couldn't catch up with them. But these kids did a good job on taking care of all the mulch areas here, and then they went to the cemetery and did some of our areas there that we needed mulch. But this has been going on now, I think, for 3 years. They've been doing this every spring. And it helps us out a lot. These are the big bellies we got in last year, I believe it was. They actually compact the trash as you put it in. In the winter time, we probably don't change these about once every 6-8 weeks. In the summertime, it's 3 or 4 weeks that we actually have to change and it's hooked up to a computer system where it shuts off as soon as the computer goes off. It shows it red. That means it's time for us to change it. So, and then when it's green and then it turns to yellow, then it goes to red. So when it gets to yellow, we know we have to start thinking about changing them.
Does that operate on like a 110?
So it's on solar. It's all solar powered.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty neat.
Again, those are paid for by grant dollars.
Something else we may want to think about in the future, because we get out twice a week, well, picking up the trash cans in the summer. We have somebody down there like daily picking up trash, but actually out the trash cans, it's some days we have to do 3 days, but this does save us on both ends of the courthouse. The other big thing we did this year, which took us, it seemed like, was a Riverview disc golf course we put down at Everett Park. This was we started, as you see, in early spring. These are a couple of our job family service workers. We had to go into 5 acres back in there and just clear it out because of the storm we had back in June a few years ago. It knocked down so many trees back in there. We were pulling trees out and brush just to try to lay the golf course out. We brush hogged. We did a little bit of everything back in there. But this was like an ongoing thing all summer to get this completed. And we had, like I said, had everybody down there at different times. You can see now it's getting greener. Now we're able to brush hog more back in there to lay the course out. St. Paul's Lutheran Church sent down a youth group during the summer, and I had them tear out the old horse corral, which nobody used anymore. It was more of an eyesore than anything, so they tore it out. We, in turn, took those poles and put up a barrier so no one can drive back in through there. So that they helped us with that one Sunday. These are Denison University students that started. We knew we had a lot of tires and trash back in there, and they pulled out 135 tires, which took them all day because they were frozen or some were stuck to the ground. But that was tremendous help. They got them all out. We got them loaded up on our trucks and took them to the recycle, which we do with the county twice a year. We do tire recycle. This past Saturday, we just got done doing one down at their office down East Main Street, and they collected over a semi-truck trailer of tires. We do that usually in May and then in October, but these kids are helped a bunch. And they come out periodically, just work off community hours. They do a lot of trash pickup and a lot of brush clearing up at TJ's. They've been doing that for the last year or so. So they're good bunch of kids. Then also in the spring we had Newark High School students. They had to do community hours for their schools. So we had about 40 or 50 of them come down, and once again they were pulling more brush out from way back out to the road so we could actually chipper. There's a chipper over there that we're running the chipper and they're pulling the debris to us. So this has really been a community effort to build this golf course with everybody. So there's another picture. And you wouldn't guess that's Everett Park. I mean, with the river on the right-hand side looking down through there, that looks like somewhere else but in Newark, Ohio, in the center of downtown Newark. We've been trying to clear it closer to the river. That's another thing that probably take us a couple of years because we do everything the hard way. So we have to do a lot of manual things here. But we've been working at that, trying to get closer to the river, get it cleared out better. But and there's another view the other way, which I don't think it doesn't look like you're in Newark there, but that's the golf course that actually runs along the river there and back into the woods. Here's Chuck and Stan Benning. They're assembling the baskets. It's not real tough, but it's a tedious job. But they got them all up. And then we got sponsorships we sell. Or if someone's donated a lot of things to us, we actually give sponsorships on the holes. Right now we have 12 sponsors. We have 6 to go that we're currently selling. It's been easier because it's been used so much down there. We've had people coming up telling us that they want to buy a sponsorship because they like the course so well. Next spring we got to go back up into Horns Hill, the disc golf course, and do some more renovations up there. Since we got this one going so well, we got some new ideas to redo some of the holes and move the holes because of the water towers, so we don't have golfers throwing their disc into the water tower area. But we got some work to do there. This is another real fun project we did. I can't think of her name. Chelsea and her mother Patty both work down at the Board of Realtors, and they're looking for a community thing, some kind of community project that they could do that they could get a grant for. And they got a grant from the National Realtors Association, and I believe it was for $2,400. So they approached me about it because they want to do something for the kids, and that basketball court needed some attention brought to it. Just to seal the area was like over $2,400, but we had some really bad sinkholes there on the basketball court. This is the one end was a brush. We had a brush by the railroad tracks. They wanted to clear out because they wanted to put a butterfly garden in too, because they found out that the benches that we were going to buy was only about $2,000, and they could spend another $400 on the garden they wanted to build. So I went down to my guys. We cleaned out all the underbrush and some of the trees by the railroad tracks there. And this is what they came down and planted all the plants, mulched it. But we found out when they went to dig the holes, it's all coal there. I guess since back in 1910, the coal train went by, the coal kept falling off, and every time they tried to dig a hole, they're digging up coal. So we had to haul in 3 loads of topsoil just to fill in there so we could plant things. So it's kind of interesting how much coal fell off the trains back then. This is what the court looked like before we started. I don't know if you can notice up on the right of the picture is where one of the sinkholes was from the I think with the buildings they had there before, they must not have filled the foundations as well before they put the basketball court in, but we decided to do it right. I had my guys go down and we laid it out and cut out all the sinkhole areas, and then we filled them back up with gravel and tamped them all, and then had the street department come in with some asphalt and help us fill in all the holes. Then we had it sealed and striped. You can see in the background there. This is a dedication. The Board of Realtors and the mayor. Some of the people in the crowds. More people. This is a great basketball team here. It's boys against girls. Put my money on the girls there. I think the boys were more like a football team than a basketball team. So,
Would agree.
and this is our number 1 player. He shot the first shot. So he got it close. All right, here's another. We decided we had an area down on Western Avenue. We had 3 lots that were just sitting vacant, and we wanted to clean them up and do something with them. And Steve Lehman was very kind to say, "Hey, you guys tear out this playground unit, you can have it." Well, I didn't think tearing out was that big a deal, but let me tell you, they put more concrete in there. It probably took us 6 weeks to try to get that out, because every time, I get the pictures, that's what it looked like. We would take it apart. The top was fine. How do I get back? But we ended up using jackhammers, everything, trying to dig it. We didn't want to hurt it, so it was a very tedious process trying to dig it up. And then we got all of us. The young kids using a jackhammer. I'm over using a sledgehammer, so tell which one the smart one is there. But we finally got it moved. We got it disassembled now. We're going to reassemble it down at Western Avenue, which is like putting a puzzle back together. We did, this is kind of out of order here, but we got it back there. We started to mulch down there to put around it. We dug a lot of holes, and but there's the finished product. It's back in out Western. We also put in, there were 6 benches there at the school, and we took the benches and put them around the outside perimeter of the property. And we're in the process of buying a new swing set that we'll probably put in this spring. Now, you want to talk about the bike path?
We both can. One of the things that I spoke about earlier was enhancing our already good relationships. And one of the areas that we wanted to enhance our relationship was with the Licking County Park District. And a couple years back, they were able to pass a levy for the Park District. And in that levy, there was some additional money for bike paths. So, Steve, if you want to introduce everybody you brought with you tonight from the Licking County Park District Board, and
sure,
I'll get into the agreement a little bit.
Thanks, David. I'm Steve Holloway, chair of the Licking Park District. And just to inform you, we're not part of the county.
Yeah,
we're own any, although we cover the whole county for sure.
Yeah.
Jim Kirikoff, one of our members. Jim Bradley, a member, and we have our operations manager, Tammy McCann.
What we did is we analyzed our trails, and we came up with an agreement on the bike trails. It basically says if we have a mutually agreed upon project, something that we sit down and we mutually agree upon, we'll look for some grant dollars. If there are any grant dollars out there that either entity can find, whether it be the city or them, those dollars would come off the cost first, and then the remaining dollars would be split. So in the crack sealing of the bike trails, which is our first project that we've embarked on, the cost was about $14,000. We got a $5,000 grant from the Gannett Company, so there's about $9,000 left, of which the Park District paid half and we paid half, and they started that work this week. So all our bike trails within the city of Newark will be crack sealed this week. We're going to sit down on a quarterly basis and talk about the trails. We want to come up with some common signage for the trails that will be common throughout the whole bike system. And any tree trimming projects that we can work on together, we will. They have certain pieces of equipment that we do not. And when we can get groups in to help, they will work with us on different projects. So we're pleased at the relationship. We're pleased to find some additional funding for our bike trails, which I believe, and we all believe, is a good community asset. And it's an asset that needs to be kept up on. And if you don't keep up on them and keep the maintenance up, you'll end up with a lot of deferred maintenance, and our bike trails will not be kept up in the manner in which they should be. So over the next couple of years, you will see a lot of emphasis on our bike trails, trimming, crack sealing, and keeping them in better condition with the help of our friends from the Park District.
David, because it's adjacent to the park trail, I don't think Jeff commented on this. Do you want to comment on what you did with the lights down at Everett?
The lights down in Everett were turned off when we took office. We identified those lights as being out, and when they were out, we had vandals that went down there and stripped the electricity out, and the wires out, and the copper out. We rebuilt those, and we're slowly getting them all back on, but one thing Barbara was helpful in finding, along with money, was a new type of globe down there that we were able to purchase, and those globes are plastic globes down there, not glass, because the glass globes down along the river on Everett were continually being shot out with BB guns, pellet guns, and it was glass. So now we have plastic globes. They look identical. And to date, we haven't had any problems with the globes. They haven't been shot out. They're there, and the lights are coming on slowly but surely, one by one. And we're going to keep them on because they were put there with $10. They were put there for safety, and they were put there for aesthetics, but safety first, and they should be on. And we're getting them on.
David, how many of them are on now?
I would say probably
More than half?
That's 60-65% mark. It's something that the traffic guys do when they have a little bit of time, and particularly BJ Varner.
There's about 14 or 16 to go,
Yeah.
I think. I also like to mention that in Everett too, we have a good relationship with Pam Roberts, who does the community garden at the front of the park, which is really enhanced, I think, the beauty of it, besides all the food that they grow themselves, people. And then the other one is Civil Air Patrol, who actually, that's their headquarters, is in the building there at the back, the center there. They've been real good partners with keeping the building maintained and painted up, and just their presence has helped a lot, being someone down there in the evenings. So those are two more people we partnered with. Has helped a lot down in Everett to kind of settle that place.
Of course, we have the baseball diamonds down there also. So we've put a lot of work into Everett Park to try to bring it back to what it was. Not quite what it was when I had the pool, but bring some community pride back down into it, and hopefully people are using it. We also added a walking path that was paid for by grant dollars again that Barbara found for us, and we connected the trail through both the baseball diamonds and back to the trail through the disc golf course. So it's kind of unique if some kids are practicing baseball and a mother wants to take a walk, she can kind of stay in the same vicinity and walk around everything and through the disc golf course. But if you haven't been down there lately, get a frisbee, get down there, play a game of disc golf, and take a look at Everett Park, because it's starting to come back the way it should have been.
I was down there fairly recently, and it really, I mean, it's like night and day. I mean, it's really a great improvement. One thing that I wanted to ask is can you talk to us a little bit about the activity at this stage, or I should say the usage of Horns Hill, and like, for instance, how did the new disc golf course impact the disc golf up there?
Well, it depends on your level of golfing or disc abilities. The Horns Hill course is more advanced because there's a lot more growth of vegetation. It's all uphill and downhill. So we get more of the advanced disc players up there, where the one at Horns Hills is more wide open. We have more families probably at Horns Hill playing. I think it took away a little bit now because everybody wants to try something new. So some of the golfers came down to Everett and left Horns Hill for a while, just so that they could try the new course out. Horns Hill is a challenge because you're either going up or going down. You're following the trails around there, and you got to be in shape. And the shots are a lot harder than they are at Everett. You about see about every basket when you're sitting there. I can't say at Horns Hill you do. They kind of curve around, and the vegetation's a lot higher. Horns Hill's harder for us to take care of because of being on the side of that hill. It's not the easiest thing to mow in there and things. Where this one's a lot more maintenance friendly for us because it's flatter. We can get in easier. We've already started mowing with mowers actually back in the woods, which we can use as normal mowers. Up there we have to use some type of four-wheel drive tractor with a small push hog on the back to get in. Where here we can do it with regular zero turns, do a lot faster. So we'll see over the years. What we like to do, maybe not next year, but a year or so from 2 years from now, is have a tournament, a 2-day tournament where The one tournament's up at Horns Hill one day, and then they come down to Everett for a second day of the tournament and have combined scores. But we have to do some little more work up at Horns Hill now. We kind of cut our teeth up there how to do it. I think we did a better job down here. So we need to go back up there and realign a few things so it's not so difficult. And it's to keep it away from the water towers more so we don't have that problem. That was the first one we put in, and I guess Chuck and I didn't read up enough on it, but I think we got it right here at Everett. So.
Jeff, I'm sort of assuming that there's clientele everywhere for disc golf. Is there a website or anything people can go to find out where disc golf courses are around the state, that kind of thing?
That's how we got started at Horns Hill. There's like a local chapter of disc golfers that wanted a course, so they helped us kind of design the first one. And it's like everything else after, I think a couple of the kids or something got married and they kind of fell off to the side. But I think there's an association because there's one over in Westerville, Gahanna has one. A lot of stuff spread by word of mouth, but we had to get it on our own website. We just completed this back in, what day we got there, July or something, or August, I can't remember when everybody came out, but that's about what we haven't done. So we can spend the winter kind of tweaking it, see if we can get more recognition for it on the internet and things. So we get more. We got a lot of people down there now, though. The cars sitting back there now, you know what, they're there playing golf. So it's not a real question. Done with the bike path?
Yep.
All right, so kind of the last part of our thing here is
one of the things we do is we plan. And Jeff comes up with ideas, we come up with ideas together, and we try to plan a future for the parks, the cemetery, and how we can make the recreational part of Newark better and the cemetery part of Newark better. All these things take money. Some of these ideas we come up with, and we are not able to find the funding, so they fall away. Other of them are made a reality because Barbara is able to find us some grant dollars which we couldn't get a lot of things done if we didn't participate and get some block grant dollars the council's kind enough to give us each year, and then she reaches out and gets us other dollars that really make these things happen. So here are some hopes for next year and the year after that we've come up with for future items. This, if you look at the Cedar Hill Cemetery, one of the things Jeff's workers do is they have to cut that embankment. If you go down Cedar Hill, you'll see that there's a real tough embankment. It takes guys 7 to 9 hours a week to cut that hillside, and that's man hours. Plus you got guys on the hillside and you got a rickety fence. It's not the safest condition. So what we've done is we've come up with three different concepts on if we could build a wall there. Now, building the wall means we got to find the money, which means we got to find the grant dollars to do it, which Barbara's helping us do. But these are three different concepts that could dress the front of our cemetery up. It would do two things. One, it would dress it up. Two, it would add a little more security than what we currently have there. And three, it would add safety to our workers not having to cut on the hillside. And it would increase efficiency too. We really could cut those man hours down to maybe a couple hours a week and spend those hours. Again, these are conceptuals. It's just conceptions that we have. We don't currently have funding for it yet, but it's something that with the help of our grant writer, we hope that we can find some dollars to do something like this. This over here is another section of the cemetery, and it's a big section. And again, with some grant dollars, we're going to put a road down the middle of it to split the section. When Jeff has burials, people have to walk a fair amount away to the gravesite sometime. But this section here, if we would put a roadway in there and our street department would perform that service, would be able to break the distance of walking for people if they, at the burial site there at the cemetery.
And now we'll talk the veterans, section 25 in the cemetery. About 15 years ago, we made some improvements where we put a flag in and put the granite up and put all the emblems of all the branches of service on it. Well, I've been working with Mike Holmes, who's a director of the Veteran Service Organization, and he's recently bought more graves off of us to do burials for the veterans. And I showed him a picture. Well, he actually came out and he saw our new columbariums that we're putting in for our cremation garden. And he thought that was a neat idea. And we started talking. He said, you know, maybe we should do columbariums for all our, cause they do a lot of cremations too for their veterans. So instead of using a whole grave, they're going to buy two 48-inch niches or columbariums. They'll have 96 niches total. So they didn't want to really do all the work because they weren't sure what they had to do. So they entrusted the transfer of the money to give to me, to have me oversee the whole improvements we're going to do. One of it is we're putting new sidewalks in. We're putting in new pads to put actually buy the columbariums, have them set. We're going to do some more landscaping, major landscaping with it. And whatever else, then we have more money left. We're going to start putting in new flags for each one of the branches of services. I'm driving down to Springfield tomorrow to take pictures of it's a granite that honors each war that that the United States has fought in, with different writings on them and settings. So I'm going to take pictures of that to show that to Mike and his staff, and so they can think about maybe adding a feature like that back there. We're going to designate one area for the parade, so we don't ever, so they'll always have it formed in the same area. We're going to put in a new handicap curb cut, so the wheelchairs won't have a problem on the backside coming on. He just wants to really, whatever money he can come up with each year, just try to do a step-by-step improvement to the whole area. He said he thought he had a tank that he was going to be given, so we can put it out there. So I'm just going to come up with some different ideas or some different other bronze statues that we have money for that he would like to put out there also. So he just wants to make it a first-class veteran section. With that, that's why the money was transferred. So I've already ordered his columbariums. The concrete work is supposed to be done here another week or two, weather permitting. We've already done our part. We've been out and dug out all the areas for the sidewalks, the cemetery staff, because it's such sacred ground. I don't want some, nothing against cement contractors, but I like to take a little more care on how I cut in and put a sidewalk in next to one of the fallen veterans. So I told the concrete gentleman I'd take care of that. They just have to come in and form it up and pour it. So that's all. We're ready for that. So, but we're going to move on each year and try to do more improvements. But the first two big ones, the columbariums and the new sidewalks, and maybe some flag. We have enough money. When we do landscaping, if there's money left over, we'll probably start buying new flagpoles for each branch of the service.
Jeff, what park is it in Springfield?
Ferncliff, that's a cemetery. It's on the western side of Springfield. I was there for a maintenance seminar about a month ago, and I noticed they had a really nice veteran section that was really unique, and then they had this other area with all these, this grand must have been about 8 feet tall, about 5 feet wide with each war. And I didn't have a camera with me that day, but I explained to them, I told them I'd take pictures and bring them back to them so we can look at them. And I also try to get I'm going to take the pictures to one of my wholesalers for granite and see if he can give me a price on it, so we can start moving on with doing something like that down there, just to honor the veterans of each war. So that's basically what's going to happen there. And
it's kind of another plan that we're looking at. This is Levin Park. It's kind of an overview. One thing about Levin Park, it's not ADA accessible, handicap accessible. What that shows there is from the main parking lot, a path that our street department will put in. It would go over there to the left to the bathrooms, which will be ADA accessible. And then we're proposing another shelter house there in addition to the one that's currently there. Again, it comes down to funding and grant dollars, which we're looking for to do that, but we would like to improve Levin Park a little bit more. We have a lot of activity use there, particularly when Newark Little League's playing baseball and people playing basketball. We do get some volleyball there, and we have some people that use the swing sets and stuff, but the shelter house being enhanced and with a walking path will make it accessible for ADA handicap.
And, well, the other thing, we have some more playground equipment in grant idea to put there up to the top where the yellow markers are at. We need to work again on the basketball court. There's a couple areas we may have to cut out and repatch and reseal that also. But that was in the planning stages for that park. Okay, this is Wildcat Park.
This is Wildcat Park up off Horns Hill Road. One of our thoughts there is to put a dog park there. Again, we have to look for funding. We could put some fencing up and some bigger stones and things for bigger dogs to run and play. I was in Pittsburgh at a little place called Frick Park, and it had a nice dog park at it, and I looked at it, and Jeff and I got together, and we thought, boy, as much activity has there been around Newark about dogs. We've got the area there, right there next to the water treatment plant, where we do have a Canadian goose problem. We have dogs around there barking. Maybe that'll scare a few of the geese. But it's a nice flat ground. It is in a floodplain, which makes Great Dollars sometimes a little tougher. But we're looking. Again, it's a thought. It's a conceptual thought. There's a parking lot already there, and it could be enhanced.
The only thing else I want to add is, in our spare time, we do run a cemetery. There we do 125 barrels a year. We also have 37,000 stones, headstones that we trim around, and 102 acres of mow there, which takes quite a bit of time. We also do a lot of work for property maintenance. So far this year, we've mowed 191 other properties, cut and trimmed, and we've hauled 70 truckloads of trash to our compactor. So that keeps us busy too. And then I was thinking about some of the other areas we mow around town. There's about 15 areas around Newark that we just mow on a bi-weekly basis. There are empty lots and around the fire station, just different places around town that we mow, just so they look better. But other than that, that's our yearly tour.
The only slide that wasn't shown up there, I just didn't get a picture earlier today, was Wells Park. We are looking at some improvements to Wells Park too. And Jeff, did you put two roofs on?
Yeah, we need to we need more playground equipment. We fixed the restroom area a year ago. We put a new roof on it, and we did the plumbing in there. But we just need to fix the roof on one shelter house. If we had enough money, we almost need to tear it down and expand it. It's a very small shelter house. Maybe expand the other one, but I'd rather build a new one and really fix up the other one because it's so small. But yeah, that and the basketball court again, there needs some attention. It's just we kind of go through the list of each park we can do per year because money and labor are two big problems. So.
Questions or comments from members of the committee, Mr. Rath and Ms. Holt?
Yeah, Jeff, it seems like you use a lot of volunteers, and it's great. Do you ever keep track of the number of volunteer hours?
Yeah, Chuck has a lot of that. He keeps track of them. It's usually the same people. We also get. I also know the workforce is juvenile delinquents. The juvenile court sends me people. I get people working off food stamp hours from Job Family Services, and I do get some people working off fines from adult probation. So I get some very good workers. I get some very bad workers. So, but when we get the good ones, we treat them good. And as a matter of fact, I've hired a few of the people that really, work hard, and I'll hire for summer help, not for full-time employees. I may, when it comes up for summer help, I've been known to hire a few of them. Rarely, but I've hired like 3 or 4 that actually worked out.
It's a great job interview.
Yeah, I get to see them work free for a summer, and then we know what I got going into. Chuck works really a lot with Denison University. every couple of weeks, a fraternity will come down, or a sorority will come down, and they used to do trash picking more than anything else. The fraternities do a little bit more brush cutting, but the sororities do more trash pickup. But he has a lot of numbers and all that. I should have brought that with me. I didn't think of it.
Yeah, I was thinking that I'm wondering if travel tourism gets updated in, like Everett Park and the golf courses. Do they stay on top of that? Because I would think they would put that on their website as well as their newsletters that go out. Maybe their brochures would have list of golf courses, our parks, our bike trails.
I know they do the bike trails. The bike trails have a lot of different.
It's a great idea. We have a meeting with Dan Motor next Monday night, as a matter of fact. Next Monday, later afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good idea.
Strength.
You didn't mention anything about Reddington Park. Do you have any?
The what?
Reddington Park, do you have any plans for improvement?
Yeah, I'd like to put a fence up for the baseball field. That's the biggest thing I'd like to. I haven't found the money yet for that. We have a rugby team out there now that basically plays rugby because the soccer team left. They disbanded, so we have a rugby club that actually plays out there, I think, on Sundays. But yeah, the baseball a fence, maybe dugouts for the baseball field, that would be nice. I think we get a couple more teams from the West End would use it to practice on, but it's back to the money, finding the money for the fencing. They found out it's on cheap after pricing out the dog park.
And the fencing we got at Everett Park, if you remember, was a donation from NASA Soccer. They had some baseball diamonds there that were defunct, and they said we could have them if we moved them. And last year we were able to find some grant dollars, and we moved those fences.
Okay, before we invite folks from the audience and other members of council, I want to thank you, Jeff, and Chuck and your people for the good job you do. Barbara Gilks, if you just think about, in the 10 years I've been on council, all of the sort of bacon that she's delivered for the city, it's really phenomenal. And compliment you, David, Mayor, for prioritizing the parks, and that's been I think it's probably sort of the shining star of the improvements in the last 4 years, and that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Folks in the audience, anyone from council out there like to ask any questions or make any comments? Okay, if not, other comments or questions from the audience? Simply, if you do have one, if you just come up to the podium and give us your name and address for the record. Actually, I don't even think that's necessary because we don't have legislation in front of us tonight, so if you just want to jump up and say something, I think that's all right.
Mark, I'll say one more thing. I appreciate our relationship with the Park District. I appreciate their commitment to the city of Newark and its bike trails. As we all know, dollars are scarce, and now we've got a new strong partnership on our bike trails, and with quarterly meetings, mutually agreed upon projects. I really feel as though with their help and guidance in some areas, we're going to continually have good trails throughout the city of Newark. So I just want to thank them publicly.
Jim Kirchhoff, and I'm a park commissioner, relatively new park commissioner. I work for Soil and Water, but I want to commend the city here for their efforts on the parks. And funding is always a big issue. It's an issue for anything, but you look back, and my example is New York City and Central Park there. I mean, if somebody didn't have the foresight to set that apart, what would New York be? So I just need to commend you and all the community leaders here that have laid out the bike paths and made funds for the parks available, things like that, because we're only going to grow more and more, and we need good recreation outlets, and it's a real benefit to the community, and I commend you. And just keep up the maintenance as best you can, and the park district, I know, is helping to out with the trails.
And along the lines of the point you just made, you know, you can go back years and look at studies. You know, the availability of good parks and good schools and good infrastructure, it's a factor when people relocate, whether it be business or whether it be just someone looking for a place to live. We've got people here in our community that move here from Columbus, and so I think that's a big plus. Mr. Bradley.
I'd like to follow up on that. In my years at the university, as we were out trying to hire people, and we were bringing people in from Harvard, Yale, wherever, because they liked the small town that they were coming to, but they were interested in education, library, and park facilities. These are the main three things that we would ask them, why did you choose here? They would say that. And one of the star things that brought a lot of them here was the bike pass system. So we could thank the Reese family and others who have been, you know, have spent a lot of money in this town, and we've been very fortunate. You know, other towns don't have Howard the Fever or the Reese family, so they get a lot of credit, but to me they don't get enough.
I agree.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody have anything else? If not, thanks again, Jeff. Thanks, David. Thanks, Mayor. And this meeting will be adjourned.
Thank you.